Hello, darlings. This is Katerina Satori, and this is the Soul Station, a place where I will share whatever's going to come through in the moment. The topic is written in the subject, right? The deepest soul work. This is what's coming through, you guys, and I'm feeling a lot of energy. It's going to be a deep one. I have a feeling. First of all, I'm just going to spend a few seconds to greet you while people are gathering. I'm very happy to see you guys and to have your presence here. How are you? How's your heart? How's your soul? How is the vision for your life? Is it expanding? Do you see yourself clearly? Do you see your own soul? That's right. Let me know, you guys, if you can hear me okay and if you can see me okay. How does is technology on our side? Okay. Let's see. Hi, you guys. And where are you logging in from? Let me know in the comments. What do we have? What countries, what states, which universes are you logging into? Ravi, hello. Oliver, audio check, video check, amazing. Thank you, guys. I feel, it's perfect. North Carolina, let's see, Monica, Megan, Anna, Raquel, Oliver, Lindsay, Tim, Marshall Wayne, oh my goodness. Carly, welcome, beautiful beings. Bobby, welcome, you guys. Thank you so much. I do not take your presence lightly. I cherish it and send you my blessings. So this live stream, you guys, I would love to dedicate to this very, very crucial conversation. And I feel like it holds the key to our inner freedom, because if you have everything in the world, right? Wealth, influence, all the toys. But if in the world, your inner world is not liberated, it's going to taint your experience of life. There's going to be a deep sense of dissatisfaction and longing for inner liberation, even if you don't know how to call it. Even if you don't know how to name it, you're going to feel it. This longing, this restlessness, this what else is there, right? And it's the different aspects of ourselves that desire to be healed and embraced and liberated. Welcome, darlings. Welcome. Great timing. Look at this. Welcome, beautiful beings. Yeah. And if some of you never met me before, you're like, who is this woman talking about soul work? My name is Katerina Satori. I was born and raised in Soviet Russia. I came here to the United States when I was 23. I'm American by choice, and I'm definitely a starseed and a galactic being by my soul origin. And my mission in the world, you guys, is really to do deep soul work with people. And some of you who've been following my work for some time, you guys, you have seen my constant reinvention, and I totally embrace the path of constantly reinventing and constantly allowing the deeper part of your mission to emerge when it's time for it. So you guys, recently I closed down some part of my business, specifically business consulting that I've been offering for some time. And I kept receiving messages from my soul that it was time to close that chapter down. And it was time to let go of that role as a business coach for people. And so that part is complete, you guys. And I fully stepped into the soul work with people. So you're probably going to notice a lot more consistency in my messages. It's going to be all directed on one thing, to assist others to remember who they are on a soul level, to come to their full power of realization of their full sovereignty. I use that word a lot. And sovereignty, to me, you guys, how I understand sovereignty is your ability to be a master of your domain, to be a master of your physical domain, master of your body, master of your finances, right? Master of your domain, so your domain doesn't master you. You are the sovereign being. Then you develop a mastery of your intellectual domain, of your mental capacities, right? Mastering of your thoughts, of your intention, of your ability to stay present, to guide your thought, not just to be guided by it. Next level, you begin to dive into your emotional world. You begin to develop your emotional sovereignty, your ability to not only be swept by your inner world, but to navigate it with grace, compassion, love for all of your emotions, your ability to see there is no such a thing as a negative emotion. There is such a thing as a negative thought that stirs up your emotional world. If you don't know how to swim in it, you will be swept by it. We have another domain of will. Now you develop sovereignty of will, your ability to harness the power, the ability to reach deep inside of you and say, I decide to go forward with my vision, not just to remain in the fantasy of a possibility. I decide to take this bold risk and bold action, right, you guys? And then we have a domain of the spirit, where you restore your relationship with God in whatever way that is aligning for you. You restore your relationship with divinity. You dive deep in understanding of the spirit world, right? You begin to see yourself as interdimensional traveler, not just the human being lost in space, floating in a galactic chaos. You begin to see the order of the universe. You begin to see the cosmic game and the joke and the plan and mystery. And you bow down to the mystery instead of trying to solve it with your logic. You realize that the biggest gifts of this incarnation, which is love and contribution to others and your higher purpose, they all have elements of mysteries. And you awaken the inner mystic in you that sees the grace and love and benevolence of this universe. That's what I see when I tune in into the word sovereignty. It's ultimate self-mastery. And self-mastery is, where you understand you're always going to be a student. You never arrive there. The more you know, the more you empty your cup. And you say, God, Spirit, Divine Mother, empty me and help me see what I still don't understand, or what I refuse to see in me. So, darlings, that's the introduction to this live stream. The introduction. And some of you who've been following me for some time, or maybe brand new to my work, I share with you some parts of my story only as a place of reference and only as a place of, I would say, what gives me this grace to share these insights with you is because I truly believe it doesn't matter where you come from, you guys. It doesn't matter how humble is your beginning. In fact, it appears so that the more humbler your beginnings, the more that fire gets lit in you. And you say, I will not be defied by my circumstances. I will rise. And I will go and I will create a better future. Maybe I will be the first person in my family line who goes and does something beautiful and meaningful and impactful. And you begin to see that the family curse or the family wounding on the ancestral darkness, you don't have to carry it forward to the next generation. You can choose to say, It ends with me. And this is how was my story, you guys. Some of you know it. I grew up in Soviet Russia. I'm going to give you very cliff notes because my story can be like on 15 pages. Cliff notes. I grew up in Soviet Russia, and I was raised by a single mother who, when I was growing up, I did not want to be like her at all. My mom, her entire life was like a tomboy, you guys. You cannot find any feminine genes in my mother. And when people look at me, the first compliment that I usually get is how incredible my energy is. And I'm very grateful. I say, thank you. It's cultivated. And the second compliment usually is how feminine I am, how I embody divine feminine. And if you guys saw my mother, you would probably feel like, what? What? Seriously? Come on, Katerina. Because she's ultimate tomboy, you know? Ultimate tomboy. I think the last time I saw my mom was longer hair when I was like 5 years old. And she was wearing her hair really short. My mom like always acted like a man in a woman's body, right? She could move the furniture. She could rewire electric system in the house if it was needed to do, plant the garden, harvest the garden, work 2 jobs, provide for all of us. And when I was growing up, I was watching my mother. My main thought was, I will never be like her. I will never be like her. I will never be this bossy. I will never be this abrupt. I will never be this masculine, this manly. I will develop different qualities. Type in the chat box if you ever said, I will never be like my mother. This will require some vulnerability and honesty on this live stream, but I'm just curious, am I alone? And maybe some of you ladies or gentlemen, maybe you said, I will never be like your mother, like my mother. That's right. And it's like, you know, whatever you resist will persist. And it's something like you can't run away from your shadow. The more you try to run away from your shadow, the more you can't really run away from it. The only way you can meet your shadow is step in the light, right, you guys? Yeah, like your father. Absolutely. And that's a whole different scenario, you guys. I will get into the father situation. Absolutely. But you guys, beside my mother, I also grew up with 5 different stepdads. And, you know, the storyline of these 5 different stepdads, one was, I would say, worse than the previous one. It wasn't getting better. It was getting worse with every single one of them stepping into my life and my mother's life. And I grew up in a small apartment. You know how many people? 5 people in a small apartment, 1 bathroom. There was no sense of privacy. There was no sense of personal space, right? So when I was 16, trust me, I was so waiting for that moment where I could pack my bags and say, I will see you guys later than sooner. And I left at 17. I just turned 17. I left, and I went to my first college, and I did not come back to see my family for the next 2 years. And you guys, and I started doing this pattern, you know, and I think it served me to a point because at that time I was so emotionally fragile. And I was just looking for myself and who I was. You know, at 17, what do you know, right? So that was my path to distance myself from my biological family, just to find some ground underneath my feet, found who I am, found my voice, right? So fast forward 10 years, I've made it to United States of America, and I began pursuing my American dream. And I kind of put my relationship with my family on the back burner. I would always keep them on the distance because it was so hard to deal with the ghost of the past. The wounds were so deep and the wounds were so open. I felt like they were gashing, you know, unprocessed heaviness, that the easiest way to deal with it was just to put it away and to pretend it's not there. And with every single year went by, I not realizing I was doing it, you guys, I kept punishing my mother with my distance. And I kept allowing her to know just a little bit of my life, just a little bit, right? And that punishment of silence, punishment of you don't deserve to know the real me. And I did not see, you guys, how not dealing with this family shadow was creating deeper and deeper wounds in me. I'm going to take a look at your comments. 1 second, you guys. While we're still there. He says, we're hard to relate, my mother and I. Exactly, ladies. It's a huge, huge breakthrough when you begin to see that healing this dynamic with your mother and with your father is the biggest liberation opportunity, not only for you, but for up to 7 generations after you. Independently if you choose to have children or not. This is how the family system works. So let me kind of go back into the story, you guys. So I kept creating more and more distance with my family through the years. My justification, mental justification was they will never be able to handle my truth. If I really reveal my full, authentic me, I will be judged, I will be rejected, and I will be lectured. Right? So it was better to protect, to self-protect, not let you in, not to deal with my pain, and to keep punish you for my distance. Until there was one moment, you guys, years ago, I went to a Burning Man festival. How many of you have been there? I went to a Burning Man festival, and I had an incredible experience. I met, Burning Man Festival, it's a gigantic festival of 50,000 people. And it's a gathering for 7 days where you go in and it's ultimate self-reliance and self-expression, where you can just be, you are free to be who you are and express yourself in a way without limitation, right, you guys? So I go into this festival, and it's a place where you just meet strangers, and in a matter of 5 minutes, you can just drop in the deepest conversation with a total stranger, right? So it was one of those moments. I met this man, and he was asking me about my heritage, about my Russian roots. And instantly I felt a block, I even until this moment, you guys, I still have a little bit of resistance when people ask me about my heritage, I noticed the resistance, but at that time it was deep block. Like I did not want to go there. It's a sign there is a lot of unhealed stuff if you don't want to go somewhere. So he kept asking me about my family, right? And I said, almost boasting, like boastfully, I said, oh, my mother knows maybe 20% of my real life. Because if she knew all of it, she would not be able to handle it. So why would I bother? Were my words about 7 years ago. And he looked me in the eye and he said, he delivered the message. He was like a soul archer at that moment. He delivered the message like a perfect stranger can, He said, Katerina, the short-term gain is a long-term pain. And a short-term pain is a long-term gain. He says, you will risk vulnerability by letting your mother in and letting her know about who you really are and who you're becoming as a woman. Yes, you take a bigger risk by opening your heart and letting her in. But that's gonna create a long-term gain. You're gonna start planting the seeds of intimacy and vulnerability and authenticity in the relationship. But you choose to go for the short-term gain and keeping the wall, keeping the emotional wall and not letting them in, protecting your heart. But what kind of seeds are you planting? You're planting the seeds of separation and coldness. And you're not even giving your mother a chance to get to know the real you. And just like a soul archer, he pierced my heart with those words, you guys. And I saw it. It clicked in me. I was like, wow, I don't know even give my mother a chance to understand me. I made a decision that she will not. Right? And the healing began at that moment, you guys. There was a moment of choice. I could have choose not to hear the message, because the role of the soul archer is to deliver a message, not to live it for you. He delivered the message. I could have pretend I did not hear it. And probably you and I would not have this conversation right now. But something by the grace of God, my soul encouraged me to hear the message. And I came back from the Burning Man Festival, and the very first thing I did, I booked a flight to Russia. And I went with my partner at that time. He came with me for moral support, and it was the biggest, the deepest healing that I began at that trip, you guys. You know, I literally came out of the closet, metaphorically speaking, and I just downloaded at least a decade of what I kept away from my mother, about my spirituality, about, you know, my vision, about my dreams, about my habits, about my choices, about my exploration. I just let it all in. Literally came out of the closet, you guys. I was like, Mom, you thought I was that? How about a spectrum of this? And you know the most beautiful thing, you guys? Whatever you think that your parents will not accept in you, it's just the voice of the frightened mind that is afraid of vulnerability, that is afraid of the heart connection. And I'll never forget, I was sitting with my mother, and it was one of those very first conversations when you speak to your mother as a woman to woman, not as a daughter to mother, as a woman to woman. And my mom looked me in the eye and she said, daughter, it doesn't change how I feel about you. You are still my little girl. You have your life. You're going to explore. You're going to find who you are. You're going to do it in a different way than I did. And I will always love you. Yeah, you guys. That was the beginning of healing. That was the beginning of healing. And then, I began working with different plant medicine. That was the second stage of my healing, you guys. So, and I'm also very public about it. In my life, I always been fascinated by exploration of consciousness. You know, I'm all about just diving in and exploring what's there. Like, how far can I travel in my own consciousness? How deeper can I understand who I am as a soul and why I'm here? What's the meaning of this world? So when you start exploring your consciousness, you're going to start diving deeper into your inner world. And no matter the level of the most strongest psychedelic plants that I would take, you know, everything from very, very strong ayahuasca journeys to the strongest psychedelic on our planet called 5-MeO. You know, it's literally a God molecule. You go and you see God, and you're never the same. So whenever somebody tells me they're atheists, they don't believe in spirit world, and I just say, just take some DMT, just take some 5-MeO, and you will see spirit world. But you guys, in my work with the visionary plants and with the sacred plant teachers, right? I also kept diving into my ancestral patterns. And it's something because, the plants not going to change you into anything. They're only going to reveal you who you are. And it's up to you to do the work after the ceremony, after you get off of that meditation cushion and you go into the world and the life presents to you opportunity and you have a choice to act differently. That's where the real ceremony begins. So I see entire life as a ceremony. And these occasional oases of experiences we call plant ceremonies. They're sacraments. It's a huge privilege to experience and a huge responsibility once you experience them. Because whenever you get that divine revelation and divine upload, download, and you're not doing anything with it, you just keep going for the high of it, well, it comes with the price, comes with responsibility, comes with, hey, to those who a lot is given, a lot will be asked for. So, darlings, that's a little side note on that. But I just kept digging through the family line. I kept digging through all of these situations and unresolved blockages in the ancestral line. And I've done really, really deep work with the visionary plan. So if some of you have a lot of unforgiveness with your family line, with ancestral line, if you had a very, very heavy family karma, right? And it's something we can't escape, you guys. The family karma comes with the vehicle of your body. A lot of times it's impersonal. A lot of time you inherit it simply by inheriting the DNA of your parents. And if you consider yourself an indigo or a light worker or really a person who is here to do soul work with people, spiritual work, right? You're on an accelerated spiritual path. You know who you are. Then chances are really high that you on the soul level chose a very turbulent family dynamic. Isn't it so? You chose a very difficult and sometimes what appears to be very twisted family karma. Why? Because it's the highest and the most accelerated path for your soul's evolution is to heal your relationship with your mother, with your father, with your siblings. Sometimes with the siblings can be even harder, right, you guys? Why? Because you can't run away from them. You can't run away. You can't divorce your family, no matter if you want to. Even if you do, like I did, you guys. I ran away from my family halfway across the globe. Yes, I wanted to explore the world. Yes, I felt deeply called to this country. And the underlying energy was to remove myself away from my family. And the interesting revelation was that the family ghosts don't leave you just because you decide to cross the border. They still hunt you in your dreams. They still hunt you in your nightmares. They show up as your partners, as your romantic partners. And then one day you wake up and you say, I never wanted to be like mother. I never wanted to be like my father, but look who I married. Look who I married. I married my mother. I married my father. And that was, yeah, you guys. So that was, when I had my first and my only marriage, 10 years ago, 11 years ago was my divorce, you guys. And that was a cold sweat moment where I kept repeating, I will never be like my mother. I will never be like my mother. I will be feminine and elegant and sophisticated and successful and all of that, And then one day I wake up and I look at my ex-husband with this cold sweat moment, I married a man that my mother would choose. And that's when you realize you can run away from unhealed family karma, unhealed family shadow. Then you realize whatever has been repressed in your family line will look for an opening in the family system, and that opening can be you, and most likely will be you. Whatever is suppressed in your family is looking to erupt. So what is usually suppressed in the family, you guys? Grief, shame, guilt. Grief, shame, guilt. Usually family shadow, family secrets. Right? And depends on you guys. So for me, when I was growing up, as a child, I was so hungry for attention from my mom, that the only way that I was able to get that attention at that time, I made an unconscious decision. If I protect the family secret, if I put my little body of a 5-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old as a shield to protect the family darkness, to protect the family secrets, I will be loved by my mother. You guys, tune into this. It's really powerful. It's really, really powerful, because unconsciously, children have such a blind love, that you will unconsciously reenact the family secrets, the family shadows. You're going to take the role of your mother, the role of your father, because of that deep, unconscious, blind love. And the process of spiritual awakening and spiritual maturation is learning to develop mature love, where you love others from the place of conscious empowerment, not unconscious codependency. A mature love has clear and strong boundaries. Mature love knows how to take responsibility, right? How to take responsibility. Oh my God, look at this. Mature love knows how to self-parent. And finally, mature love takes the parents off the hook and makes a decision to do whatever is required to heal those wounds, to heal the heart, no matter how long it's going to take, no matter how scary the inner voices and the inner demons, no matter how overwhelming this process feels. The pain of living with the ghosts of the family shadow becomes so intolerable that you decide it ends with me. It ends with me. So, my darlings, I wanted to share with you a little miracle that happened yesterday. As I really feel there is a special power where you highlight the miracle. A miracle happens in your life. You not only journal about it, you declare to the universe, you speak about it, you share about it. You say, this is the miracle that came into my life. So I had a miracle experience yesterday, you guys. And it was a process of Yvonne de la Flor, my co-leader and my sacred business partner, and an incredible, incredible woman that I have a privilege to serve. You guys saw a lot of our live streams together, right? A lot of posts together. We lead several events together this year. Yvonne is the founder and the creator of this incredible system called Transcendental Rebirth Process. And you guys, it's very different than this process of rebirth through a breeding, because there is a process like that too, and it's useful. It's very different than that. That process that Yvonne facilitates, it feels like a ceremony, you guys. where you go into kind of like alternate reality in a way, you know. Let's see if I'll be able to articulate, if I can just tap into the frequency. But the whole process is to step into or to find the missing experiences of your life. The missing experience, you know, sometimes like whenever you had a trauma as a child, your subconscious mind will often bury that memory deep in subconscious, because to access that memory is so painful. But your subconscious mind is on your side. Your subconscious mind will attempt to bring that memory up to the surface as an external event in your life, as a person that you attract and fall in love with, as a situation, as an accident, as a wake-up call. The more you bury it in your subconscious, it's like a springboard. Your subconscious mind is looking for opportunity to bring it up for healing. Right? And if we suppress it all the time, your subconscious mind will create a dramatic eruption. Right? And we call it a wake-up call. So instead of waiting for a dramatic eruption, you can make a choice. You can say, I am so committed to healing my heart, to healing my soul. And I'm so committed to take responsibility and say, it ends with me. It ends with me. So, because you guys, if I can just remind you, anything unhealed on your mother's line will show up as inability to have fulfilling romantic relationships. Either you attract uncommitted people, or you can't commit yourself, or you attract somebody that's easy for you, but you can't sustain a relationship longer than 6 months, right? And you ask yourself, why I'm so unlucky in love. If you ever ask yourself that, look at your relationship with your mother. Look at the mother's family line. If you have challenge with money, if you constantly say, oh my God, I have this money block, or when I receive a lot of money, I can't wait to get rid of it. I spend it as fast as I make it, or as fast as I attract it, right? Or you feel guilty when you create a lot of abundance, right? Or you just make enough to get by. Look at your relationship with your father. Look at the relationship of your father with money. Because unconsciously, remember the concept of blind love. Unconsciously, you're so loyal to your parents' family line, to your ancestral line. You're so loyal that you will not dare to live a better life than them. Unconsciously, you guys, it's outside of your conscious understanding. It's like a program that runs you, and until you locate the program and hit delete button, right? You're going to keep running, keep recreating. If you don't believe me, if some of you question, I love skeptics, look at the lives of your siblings. If you consider yourself more awake, more evolved, more on the path than your sibling, look at the life of your sibling. How similar are the lives of your siblings to the lives of your parents? That's going to be the proof in the pudding for you. Right, you guys? So last night, we were doing an incredible transcendental rebirth process, a private experience. And there was this moment where I was invited to give my father a chance to show up for me. And it's in the context of a transcendental rebirth process, you guys, right? Yeah, Raquel says, break the chains. I'm going to share with you something really powerful, you guys. So we are in the we were doing this deep womb process where you step, and it's kind of an alternative reality, right? You feel like you're in a ceremony, and you start tapping into your family system, and you're looking for missing experiences of your family system, of your family soul, right? And delete, Cheryl says. Exactly, you guys. So I have not had any contact with my biological dad for the last 6 years. So before I tell you what happened yesterday, I'll give you like few seconds introduction to that. So about 6 years ago, I wrote my dad forgiveness letter and release, forgiveness and release. So my dad has been a severe alcoholic all his life. So carrying the wound of shame for him was an unconscious responsibility that I took on as a child. So the majority of my healing work as an adult was to let go and release this unconscious loyalty and responsibility to make my father's life better or different, or to save him, right? And to actually realize that it's not my job and it's not my role, and to honor him as a soul for what he chooses to experience, even if it means slowly killing himself through alcohol. So about 6 years ago, you guys, and I've done this healing work and forgiveness work for almost a decade with him. So it was like a crescendo of my process with my father when I wrote this letter. It was like a 20-page letter where I told him for the very first time all the things that I was angry with him about, and all of the things that I was disappointed with him about. First time in my entire life, I gave that a voice, because when you name it, you can claim it. When you can claim it, you can change it. If you don't dare to express what you really feel to one of your parents, you're repressing it. You're not owning it, right? So it was a powerful moment in my path, you guys, where I really just owned it and I wrote it. And it was very cathartic, right? And then I said, and I honor you. After I shared with him everything that, I felt that I did not receive from him as a parent, and what I was angry, disappointed, and sad about, I said, and I choose to honor your path, and I forgive you, and I forgive myself for carrying this resentment all my life. And I choose to release the resentment between us. So it was a beautiful letter, you guys. I wrote it. I felt incredible. I think I wrote the letter for me. I think that was the point, you guys, to write the letter for me. And I sent it, and I never heard back from him, right? So years go by, and I tried to reach out to him a couple times, just on the phone. He changed his number. I don't know where he lives, right? And he lives in my hometown. So I just surrendered. I said, I take my father off the hook, and if ever it would be required of me to have that in-person conversation with him, I'll show up for it. But I just let go. I just surrender. Yesterday, you guys, there was a moment in the process of the rebirth where I had an opportunity to call in on my father's soul and ask him to be a protector for me for a very short period of time. And I said, Father, this is your opportunity to show up sober as my father and to be my advocate, to be my guardian in the spirit world. There was a very brief moment, you guys. It was a very, very brief moment. I come home and I receive a text message from my older sister who is in Russia. And she writes on the same day, you guys, she writes, Katerina, let's connect on Skype. I have a lot to share with you. She says, I resumed my connection with our Father. And I saw him sober twice. And we connected. Guys, I've been on this path way too long and too deep to see that as a mere coincidence. I see it as an incredible, powerful point of liberation of a family system. When you choose to heal your heart and to heal your relationship with your family, you literally restructure a whole family system. You not only heal your soul, you heal the soul of your family line. And this very simple moment, right, where my sister said, I restored my relationship with our father. We connected and he was sober. Every single word of that message was loaded with meaning for me. Loaded with meaning. And the timing of it, and when I gave the opportunity for my father to show up for me in the spirit world, the inner reflects the outer, as within, as without. This is the power of activating that spirit essence in you, where you begin to see how thin this veil is. It's just a membrane. When you shift something deep in your heart, entire geometry of your life begins to reorganize itself. So every single moment of healing, moment of liberation has the power to unfold a completely different destiny for you. Completely different destiny. And how do you know that you truly healed your relationship with your mother or with your father? One of the things that you can know, you guys, you take them off the hook. You take them off the hook of guilt, shame, and a silent punishment with your distance, as used to be my hooks. For those of you who joined late, you guys, I encourage you to replay this live stream if it calls you, but I'm really just diving deep and vulnerable in the conversation of how we can keep the hooks in our parents out of this sense of self-righteousness and self-punishment. Because you keep the hooks in them, you keep the hooks in you. What a waste of life. What a waste of life to live with unprocessed anger, unprocessed pain, and then it goes into your organs and we call it cancer. Or whatever other physical expression of unprocessed anger, unprocessed grief, unprocessed shame. So I feel the whole reason for this live stream is through my personal experience to share with you that there is an ultimate cosmic design. You choose your parents. You carefully orchestrate your family dynamic because you can't run away from them. And it's your greatest opportunity to heal the family system. To say it ends with me. It ends with me. And a new life, a new lineage, a new ancestral line begins with me. That is the greatest life accomplishment in my eyes. Everything else will come from it, like a fruit of this new tree that you plant. Everything else will come from it. And you begin to see, you guys, how do you know that the healing of your relationship with your mother is in place? Well, look at the partners that you begin to attract. Look at the quality of your romantic relationship begins to improve. Less drama, less of that codependent dynamic, manipulation and all of that, less rescuing. You begin to magnetize somebody of equal strength, equal vision, right? Somebody with whom you can really build something lasting together. And you just look at all of your relationship, because relationship with mother, relationship with love. So it's like you're a lover archetype. How wounded is it? So that's where you look. That's where you look. And the same thing with the father. How are you healing it? look at the level of prosperity that begins to increase. And the level of fear for your survival begins to decrease. Is it a worthy reward? I believe so. I believe so, you guys. But more than anything is knowing, that you lived your life well and you faced those inner demons that were just waiting to turn into your inner angels. Every demon is an angel in disguise, just waiting for you to embrace it, right? How do you get rid of the shadow? You step into the light. You step into the light. And the first thing, you guys, is, even if for some of you it can begin with simple prayer. Today I choose to take my mother off the hook. And I choose to see my mother clearly with unconditional love. Say the same words for your father. That could be the first seed that you plant, and you be proud of that seed, because you got to start there somewhere. And then you begin to pray for compassion and understanding, because in order to be able to forgive, you got to be able to understand. Forgiveness is impossible without understanding. So if you can see that they were, these humans, maybe your parents never wanted to be parents. Some part of me, you guys, thinks that my father maybe never wanted to be my father. Like maybe he never wanted to be a father. Maybe he was resisting that role of his life, right? So to be able to see the situation from the 360 degrees, and to see them as humans, not as the perfect parents that they could never be for you. That's the beginning. Compassion will begin to open your heart. The healing will begin. Yeah. And when we heal our family line, we really, really heal the world. Some of the deepest work begins at home, right? And especially, if we are in the spotlight in a leadership role, and our family wounds are not attended to, it's going to bleed into the leadership. It's going to bleed into our service. That murky energy that is just looking for out. What a great gift to embrace ourselves with compassion and tenderness, and begin taking our parents off the hook. And pray for guidance, you guys, because if you pray for guidance, if you call in support will come, and you'll be able to recognize it. And support can come in terms of books, in terms of courses, classes, teachers, audios. Support will come always relevant to what is required for you to receive. Just ask for it. Let me look at your comments. Rohan says, what if they haven't changed their behavior? Great question, Rohan. My family didn't change their behavior. Maybe just a little bit. It depends on your situation. Remember how I'm not sure if you were with this live stream from the beginning. Depends on your situation. It depends on your inner stamina, depends on your soul stamina. If the relationship with your parents are incredibly abusive, physically, verbally, emotionally, and you don't have a soul stamina to stay non-reactive and to meet not love with love, I would say remove yourself from the situation if it's possible for you, right? And build up your soul strength. That's exactly what I did. At 16, I was out. It took me a decade to do this work. So I don't know your specific situation. You know, if when I go to Russia, Rohan, I don't want to be there. Truth. I really don't like going to Russia. People ask me, how was your vacation? I was like, do you know me? This is not a vacation. That's deep work. And I go because it's the deepest practice, you guys. So when I go to Russia, probably this year, I will lean on all of my tools, on tools of my thought mastery, my emotional composure, my ability to cultivate compassion on demand, right? That's the real practice of your spirituality. So I'm going to lean on all of that. And I also know my limit. When I begin emotionally get, oh my God, this is a lot, I'm remove myself. I say, Mother, I love you guys. I'm going to go on a long walk. And I go on a walk and I restore myself in nature. That's always available to everybody, right, you guys? So you always pay attention to, okay, where is that critical moment? You know? And then you grow in soul stamina, in soul courage. You'll be able to not be affected no matter what chaotic environment you're in. You begin to master your environment instead of allowing environment run you. But the ultimate, you guys, be patient with yourself. Have an intention for healing. Once you have that intention for healing, you will have opportunity to do this work. Let me look at your comments. Yeah, pray for guidance. Exactly. Pray for, that's it, you guys. That's it. Yeah, has to begin at home, long term. I love you very much, you guys. Thank you for your presence. I have no idea how long we went, but it's all divine. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for all these hearts. If you find value in this conversation, please feel free to share this video. I'm always encourage you, spread this offering of insight and storytelling. Maybe it will bring light to somebody that you know. And that's all I wanted to share with you guys on this Soul Sunday. Notice your miracles that are happening, because the more you notice these little miracles, they're not that little. You know, they're pivotal moments of your destiny. So the more you declare them, the more you celebrate them, the more you're going to receive them. Because you have this magical quality called appreciation of every single win and every single victory, of every single moment of forgiveness where you could have remained resented, you could have remained in old patterns, but you chose differently. And that's a moment of celebration. I love you very much, darlings. I will see you on the next Soul Station.